Okay, in this video we're going to be covering the 10.6 worksheets. Okay, first topic says complete the table and then choose the graph. Okay, so here we have our two equations. We're given t, so all we're doing is substituting. So -1 for t, so -4 times -1 plus 4, that's going to be 8. I did an example here. And then we're going to do the same thing for y. -1 minus 5, that'll get me -6. Fill it in for the rest of the equations. Okay. Once you have those, you're going to choose which line. Notice that these two lines are the same, and so are these. You're basically going to choose between the two separate lines of which one it is. Here I just plotted one of them. I did 4, -5, 4, -5, which is right there. And then I choose another point like 0 and -4, so 0, -4. So these two are going to be one of the correct graphs. These two are not, okay? Then you're looking at the orientation. Notice that the orientation goes in this direction for this graph, and it goes in this direction for this graph. So when t is equal to 0, I'm going to start out at 4, -5, which is right here, okay? Right here. Then as t increases to 1, I get 0 to -4, 0 to -4. So notice it went from this point to this point, so our direction is going to be going in that direction. So graph 1 would be our solution. Number 2 says to find the rectangular equation of the line by giving the parametric equations below. We're going to graph the line and then show the orientation. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm given two of these points. I'm going to solve for t. I chose to solve for t in the y because it was going to be easier and not a fraction. So subtract 3 from both sides, I get y minus 3 is equal to t. Then I substitute what t is equal to into my first equation. So here I have x is equal to -2t, and then I wrote what t is equal to, plus 4. Distribute the -2, I get x is equal to -2y, negative times negative is positive, 2 times 3 is 6, plus 4. Simplify. 6 plus 4 is 10. Solve for y. So I'm going to subtract 10 to both sides. So I get -2y is equal to x minus 10. And then I need to divide by the -2 here. Okay? That gets me this equation here. And then I'm able to go ahead and put my t is equal to 0, 1, and 2 and solve for my x and y. Okay? I use the 0, 1, and 2 to tell me where I'm starting. So once I plug in a t is equal to 0 here, I see x is equal to 4, and I see y is equal to 3. When I plug in a 1 for t, I see that x is going to be equal to 2, and then y will be equal to 4. This table helps me determine our direction, our orientation. So I'm going to go ahead and plot 4, 3, 4, 3, which is right here. And then I'm going 2, 4, 2, 4. So this is my T1, and this is my T2. Notice that it's going in an upward direction. So that will indicate my orientation. Number 3, this is going to be a parabola this time. So I'm going to go ahead and choose which one to solve for. When you have a linear versus a parabola, definitely go for your linear equations. Solve for t in this case. So here I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So I get t is equal to x plus 3. Then I'm going to substitute what t is into the second equation. The negative stays on the outside, the x plus 3 goes on the inside, and you're going to square that. Plus 1. Just finish the equation off. Keep the negative on the outside and go ahead and FOIL this. You'll get x squared plus 6x plus 9, and then add the 1 at the end. Distribute the negative inside, and then simplify the last two numbers because those are common terms. Now you have the equation. Let's go ahead and graph it. I'm using t is equal to 0, 1, and 2, and I'm going to use these points here for my table. So when t is 0, x is -3, and y is 1. When t is 1, x is going to be -2, and y would be 0. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to go ahead and plot those points. -3, +1, that's this point here. And then -2, 0 is this point here. So I can see the direction is going from here, going this way. Number 4. Number 4, we have a restricted domain. It could be either a line or a parabola. So the first thing I'm going to do here is go ahead and solve for t. Choose a linear equation if you're given a quadratic equation and a linear equation. So I'm going to solve for t first by dividing by -2 to both sides. So I get t is equal to -x divided by 2. Then I'm going to substitute what t is equal to into the second equation. So here, I didn't show it, but it's basically going to be y is equal to -x divided by 2 squared. Negative times negative is positive. X squared goes on the top, and 2 squared goes on the bottom. So now I have my equation. Let's go ahead and do our graph. Okay. Set t. Use the restrictions that were given. I'm going to use -3, 0, and 1. Okay. Solve for x and solve for y by plugging the t values into the equations up here. So -3 times -2 is a +6, and -3 squared gets me a 9. Okay, 0, 0, 0. And then we have x is equal to 1, and then we'll have -2 and +1. Okay, so what you're going to do here is, because these two are equal, they're both going to be closed circles. I went ahead and drew the vertex, which ended up being here, and then now I can determine the orientation. If I start here and t increases, my next point would be this one here. So I can say I'm starting at this location and I'm going in this direction. Okay, that concludes the 4 topics for 10.6. Let me know if you have any questions.